Welcome, Chloe Scarbrough. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you, Troy?
Good. You are now the assistant coach at Valley Girls Wrestling.
Correct.
Um, how was that this year?
It has been one of the great, I was a previous coach for another school and I
Yep.
found Valley about halfway through the season this year, and it has been the biggest turnaround in the most positive way. So I love the girls on that team. I love the coaches that were there. Were actually, when I wrestled at Valley, some of my coaches. So it's fun.
Oh, very cool. Kind of cool to come all the way back. I want to
Right.
start. We ran into each other just a couple weeks ago at Twin Rivers. I
Mhm.
wanted to start there. You've been coaching that event for a number of years, whether it's been through Team Iowa or been through Doomsday, I think, a couple
Mhm.
times.
Correct.
What's been your experience at Twin River Duels?
Twin Rivers has been always positive. I did not compete in Twin Rivers right away. I actually only competed in it my senior year in 2024 when we were still at Hy-Vee Hall.
Okay.
And I had amazing coaches. I had an amazing experience. I got a lot of matches in and it was fun. And then coaching for Doomsday was awesome. But then this year I chose a Team Iowa team and I got to meet a bunch of girls that I had never met before, and they had never met each other. And by the end of the 2 days, seriously, we were a solid team, not just of wrestlers, but of friends. So that was
Yeah.
awesome to watch grow.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that a lot of times, and I'm not saying anything bad about club teams or anything like that, but sometimes the club teams miss about the opportunity that Twin Rivers offers.
Absolutely.
And who did you coach with?
I coach with Shay. She
Oh,
was a
Shay Mickey?
former, yes, she was a former
Yes.
Grandview wrestler
Uh-huh.
and coach.
Yeah. So that's
She
cool.
was
So that's
awesome.
Yeah, she's been doing it a long time there too, so that's really cool. Yeah, just that whole idea of meeting new people, getting to, you know, have 14 kids that you had no idea who they were, and then in 2 days, all of a sudden, they're going to remember you forever. You're going to remember them. They're going to come up in state tournaments from years to come. You
Right.
know,
Like I was
yeah,
asking their name in the weigh-in line, like, which kid are you? And by the time I was done, we were all cheering for this one girl that our very last match was her only win of that tournament, and it was just awesome. And I had their parents following me on Facebook. It was just great community and like very thankful individuals.
very good. And you already said to me earlier that you're planning on coaching at Junior Olympics, which will also be at the Recplex. Um, how much freestyle experience do you have?
So, not a lot, but I did compete in the little like Simpson freestyle, Perry freestyle tournaments, freestyle state I did for 2 years. I never competed in college though, which is where I feel now we get our majority of our freestyle experience from.
Yeah.
But I feel as if understanding wrestling is most of understanding freestyle folk style, right? Like you got to
Yeah.
know the differences to be able to coach the correct way.
Yeah, no, and it's actually kind of cool to have coaches learning at the same times as the athletes, and it's such a
Absolutely.
cool event. It's
Yeah.
been a few years since it's been in Iowa, but we're
Mhm.
every 3 years, but we're going to hoping for a nice big tournament.
Yes.
Now, let's go backwards.
Mhm.
When did you start wrestling?
I started wrestling on a total whim in 2020. There was a poster in the girls' bathroom, cliche enough, that was like, come to this informational meeting about girls wrestling here at West Des Moines Valley High School. And I was the only girl to show up to that meeting. It was me and three other girls my freshman year,
Gotcha.
two of which were seniors. So by the next year, we were a little afraid it might only be two of us, but then it just kept growing.
Kept growing and growing. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So, being you started in 2020,
Hmm.
had not been sanctioned yet.
Nope.
So you ended up having to wrestle boys some.
Yes.
Uh, how do you find what was the difference? Did it bother you to wrestle boys at all? Was it did you know what? I guess we're at a point now that doesn't happen anymore, except
No.
at the youth level. Sometimes at the
Right.
youth level.
Super little.
But you know, what was it like then to wrestle with the boys and transition into wrestling? Just girls only.
So wrestling boys are, and I will always say they just like biologically are built with a stronger frame. Girls, though, are more flexible. So I wrestled at the 106-pound weight class. So I wasn't wrestling like a 160,
Yep.
190-pound dude. But even at 106 pounds, I could tell the difference. Like if I got put in a half and it's starting to crank on my shoulder, like it was way harder to get out of like fighting down from a
Hmm.
boy than a girl. But I think, and at the time it was Travis Young was the head boys coach at Valley High School. He did a phenomenal job with in the practice room, boys and girls were together for quite a
Hmm.
while. He would pair me up, obviously, with someone my weight, but sometimes a girl, sometimes a boy, and get me because at that time, you never knew who you were going to wrestle against at a tournament. So he prepared me for everything.
That's awesome. That's really good. And then your last couple of years, was it primarily wrestling girls?
Yeah. So my freshman, sophomore year, girls and boys, it got sanctioned at state my sophomore year. I was there to see that. That was one of the most surreal and like I didn't realize the gravity of it at the moment experience. And then my junior senior year, it was sanctioned girls only.
Yeah, so you hit those couple of IWCOA tournaments
Mhm.
at
Extreme
man,
Arena.
there you go.
There you
Where we're
go.
at.
Yeah.
I don't know why that escaped me there for a second. I guess that was a senior moment, I guess. So
Right. It's only every wrestling girls tournament in Iowa is held there right now.
oh, I know it. It's fantastic.
It
So
is.
going from IWCOA, and that was those events were huge, and 30 some people in a bracket, or gold, silver divisions, and
Yes.
just crazy huge tournaments. What was that like? I guess.
My freshman year, like I said, I went out for wrestling on a whim. So for background, I did the IWCOA state tournament 2 years in a row. It was
Uh-huh.
an automatic qualifier for
Yep.
girls. My freshman year, I kind of showed up and I was like, I'm gonna see what happens. And I didn't win a single match my freshman year at state in season anything. But I made it to the third period. And I remember that against a tough competitor who then went on to place at the IGH SAU state later. And I think that's when I realized, like, maybe I have, and I was upset with myself for losing. And I was like, maybe I have more than just, oh, this is for fun. But then come sophomore year, wrestling again at that tournament, I again went 0 and 2 in a tough, very, like you said, very large, very stacked bracket.
Yep.
And I think the arena floor, having my coaches like dressed up, that's a big one. You don't realize mentally, like you get ready because your coach looks ready. And that is something I'll always stand by. If you're not ready as a coach, your athlete won't be ready. But just the arena floor, your coaches pumping you up in the corner, it's such a like we have to almost train athletes to respond to that situation. You can't let it affect how you wrestle.
Yeah.
And I think it let me do that because I was gullible. I didn't know, you know?
Yeah, your first time wrestling in an arena like that, in that type of crowd, in that environment, that can be tough.
Yeah.
That is really tough. I like that you said, your coach is dressed up, and just a different feel to the tournament.
Yeah.
And I've always been for duels, I always wear a shirt and tie, just because duels seem different than tournaments. Tournaments to me are more individuals, and it's all day long too. So maybe it's,
Yeah.
a
Oh
little
my
more
gosh.
casual, a little more casual. But I like that. I'm glad that you feel that makes a difference, because I think I've always felt like it makes a difference too.
Absolutely. And it's just mentally like, okay, my coach is ready, so I'm ready. Like it's empowering to be like, he believes in me or she believes in me, so I believe in me.
And then the next 2 years, it's sanctions, which what you're right was incredible experience to
Oh
just
my
be there when
gosh.
they said that, and we kind of knew it was going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of hints around it, but
Yeah.
even that moment, I think back and I still kind of teary eyed on that whole moment and stuff. It just was so special.
It
Did you
was.
get an op? Like I said, I should have done a little better research, but I've known you for so long. I was just like, we're just going to hit this interview.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
did you qualify any of the next 2 years?
So my junior year, so the first year sanctioned, super regionals in Hy-Vee Hall. I was at 140 pounds, I think region 7. And I made it to the true fourth place match and I lost.
Oh,
So I was one place away And then my senior year, which we might get back to in a little bit, I actually quit wrestling.
Really?
I did. No, and it was no one, but it was just my mental health. And so seeing all the stuff come up about Gabe Arnold has been really like, this is something we need to talk about, and show. And I'm glad there's other people like Gabe Arnold coming out and talking about it.
Well, let's talk about it. So
Yeah.
so your senior year, you've done this you wrestling, you've enjoyed it, you've had a good
Oh,
time.
yeah.
So what was the what I guess what caused that a little bit of doubt or whatever to decide not to go out for wrestling?
I think so going into my junior year, I had no real expectation. I had nothing to lose in a way. I
Hmm.
went 4-10 the year that sophomore year, and now I'm going into my senior year, and I just was one place away at a super tough, super regional bracket. I'm competing with other girls for a lineup spot. I'm also balancing being a senior in a high school, and I am a licensed CNA, so I was taking those classes. And I was just like, the pressure that I put on myself. So my coach was phenomenal. My family was phenomenal with helping me deal with this, but it was my own pressure I put on myself to perform that when I didn't give it, I kind of shut down. And I quit wrestling about halfway through the year. And that was okay because it's what I needed. Because then on the off season, I competed in Twin Rivers.
Uh-huh.
I competed in the Scholastic Duels in Florida, and I
Yep.
actually got All American in Florida. And that was one of the moments where I was like, maybe I'm not done with wrestling. I just need a different style. Like, what can
Uh-huh.
I do still in wrestling that isn't competing? And that's when Kendrick from Des Moines Public Schools reached out and was like, I have an opportunity for you. And I was like, and I'm forever grateful that he pushed me to be here.
That's great. So just that's actually a really good thing to know. Sometimes we do just need a break, right? And
Absolutely.
sometimes during that break we find perspective that competing is not the most important thing. So knowing that competing is not the most important thing, and at the time when you stepped away from wrestling, what is better, competing or coaching?
Oh man. I want to say coaching for myself because I am a very, I like to say empathetic person. So I coach middle school right now
Hmm.
and I'm an assistant high school coach at the West Des Moines Girls Wrestling Valley Dowling combined.
Yep.
And and it's mostly with the middle school girls. It's girls you would never think in a million years would go out for wrestling. And they go out there and they win a match. And it's not the like, oh my gosh, I just won, but it's they turn around, they're like, what just happened? And then all of a sudden, this man's raising her hand. She's like, what just happened? And I look at her and I'm like, you won. I'm like elated in the corner. And then they're like, oh, I get it now. And it's for me the most rewarding thing about taking that break, coming back, discovering coaching is letting these girls know what wrestling can do for you, not just with competing. Compete when you can in high school, even if you can in college. But then if after that you want to stay involved, women's officiating is blowing up right now.
Yeah.
Coaching, there's so many options.
So what do you think? Let's stick with the or the wrestling career first, and then let's get into
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
So obviously I think that's amazing that you learned a lot about yourself in that time period.
Mhm.
What do you think wrestling gave you, high school wrestling gave you as a person, as an athlete, as you know?
Resilience. If I had to give one word, it would be resilience. I've always heard my coaches always say like wrestling is going to be the hardest thing you ever do in your life. And when you're young and you kind of just started wrestling, you're like, okay, like sure. But then I mean, I'm not that old, but I am an adult and going into adulthood, I understand it now because the wrestling career as a competitor and as a coach has set me up for success in every aspect of my life. whether I know it or not.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It's great that at your age you're seeing that. It took me a long time to figure those things out, way
Well,
past your age.
yeah, I came home one day. So in 2020, I came home expecting a fight from my father. I was like,
Uh-huh.
Dad, I want to wrestle. And I was ready, and I had my boys cut singlet in my hand. I'm like, Dad, I want to wrestle. And he looks at me and he goes, okay. I was like, what? Turns out I have a whole family side in Waterloo of state champ. My uncle has been coaching for Waterloo, not Waterloo, Columbus. That's where his kids went.
Uh-huh.
But he was a youth coach for years, and he's like, yeah, go for it.
That's
So,
great. I believe I've had some conversations with your dad over the years,
yeah.
and yeah, he's always been super supportive. Uh, can you think of what are some of the memories, uh, best memories you've had as a high school athlete wrestling?
Oh, okay. So, super regionals getting fifth for sure. That's got to be a core memory. So, actually, the like semifinal to the true fourth place match. This was a girl from Gilbert that I had wrestled 4 times that year. I actually even wrestled her in that super regional earlier in the tournament and lost. I'd always lost to her. And I pulled out the win to
Uh-huh.
get to the true fourth place match. And I remember looking up, and it's just my team was there. All of the girls that, in a way, I was the team captain then. All of the girls that I had tried to convince to come out, even if they didn't come out, stay as a manager, stay involved. And the one girl that had been with me since the start, that was in 2020, her name's Laurel Bierma. She was there and she was injured and she couldn't compete, but it's just them mat side. So every time I think of a good core memory, it's like a dual tournament and one of us wins and the whole team is there erupting, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a great subject. Wrestling, most people would say, well, wrestling is an individual sport. But I believe, and I believe you're probably going to tell me the same thing. Wrestling is such it's a unique team sport because we compete as individuals. But boy, that team is so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you can have a team of absolute hammers, right? Like a dual lineup of absolute hammers. If there is no rhythm or community within that lineup, it is not going to perform at its full potential. And I believe that to be true. Absolutely. And even just, I don't think people realize that aren't in the wrestling community or like know more about wrestling, how much work goes in for an individual by a community. Practices, getting you to practices, hosting tournaments, all the things you do behind the scenes, all the things I do, like
Yeah.
to then have an individual shine.
Yeah, it is really cool. Um, Over your last few years of coaching, can you think of some times like maybe even this year because it is probably when the team really came together and was that family?
So actually, at Twin Rivers, we had, like I said, we had those girls that showed up, and I didn't know their names during weigh-ins. I was like, "Who are you? Where are you from?" Okay, and then our very last match of our very last duel, we had a girl who hadn't won a match that whole tournament. And she was just all of a sudden, she is just getting this girl. Like she is winning. And it's late in the second. So now they're like, it's neutral restart. So there's no coin
Yeah.
flip. But I'm going to talk to her to like give her advice. And the whole team's behind me to the point where the ref is like, they got to sit down. But she won the match. And it was just watching the girls who didn't know each other even 48 hours ago. They're putting the pin chain on her. They're coaching her. It's just, I mean, I'm getting a little bit of chills remembering it. Like it was just beautiful.
That's really cool. Those moments are fantastic as a coach. Um, Now with your room at Valley,
Mm.
how would you describe the culture within that room?
Like wrestling, individual but community, especially with the Valley Dowling combination. And what I mean by that is the girls stay true to their school, right? We have Dowling
Yep.
girls for sure, we have Valley girls for sure. But when we compete, they do not forget that we are a team. And I love the dynamic because when Coach Rasmussen, I reached out to him about a position. he was like, he was like, I don't know how the combination would go because Valley Dowling, if you don't know, are huge rivals. Always have been like football, boys wrestling. This would never happen in a million years. Combined it for girls wrestling, and it's like nothing changed.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And then now they know more friends, and the culture in that room is just ecstatic, like just energy constantly. You go in there, we got a speaker, we're playing music. The girls are texting each other outside of practice, like, let's hang out later. It's awesome. And they're two different schools.
Yeah, I get that same thing. We're a co-op also, and also some rival schools within that co-op, but you don't see it. The team just is. It's so much fun, so much fun. Now you mentioned playlist, and I always get my playlist is not always appreciated. Do you ever get a chance to put some songs on the speaker?
I do, but I'm kind of the like they like the newer, more poppy maybe music, and I'm more of a old school wrestling room playlist like the Metallica and so usually I turn mine on. They're like, "Coach, what is this?" I'm like, "I don't know."
That's kind of where mine goes. So I lose all the time.
But then my
Uh,
other coaches are like, "Oh, this is great," and I'm like, "Wow, you're really aging me here."
Oh, that is funny. That's exactly how my room goes. So I usually lose. I really definitely lose on that.
That's okay.
So being able to be a younger female coach, what do you think that some of the things that you've been able to bring to that? Because I know Coach Rasmussen also very well and stuff. So what are some of the things that you think that having a female presence in the room really helps with?
Just in a way, the young women, even if they're high school, I mean, ultimately, sometimes I forget I am dealing with young women. Like, even though they are very close to my age, these are children, right? They subconsciously don't, in a way, believe things from maybe an older person or a male when it comes to our bodies. And it's not because Coach Rasmussen is a total idiot, because he is
Yeah,
absolutely the opposite. But sometimes if a girl like has a question, they don't want to ask the male coach. It's just
yeah.
awkward. Or like why or even demonstrating moves. Because girls wrestling and boys wrestling, their bodies are very different. A cow catcher for a boy is going to look different than a cow catcher for a girl, and how you fight it and everything. So it's still very valuable to me to have male leadership in a room, especially while we have seasoned male coaches with boatloads of experience, and they will always be valuable. It is equally as valuable to me to have younger or older female coaches in a room just for biology and like making sense. And sometimes mentally, I had a female coach my junior year with Valley, and sometimes just mentally she got it more than
Hmm.
Coach Rasmussen did. Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah, no, I get it. I get that very much so. I understand that. And also the representation, it's good to see someone that looks like you in a position
That,
that maybe you want to
yes.
be in at some point in someday. Uh,
Yes.
confidence is such an important part of wrestling. I think it's even a larger part of girls wrestling. How do you try to instill confidence in your athletes?
I tell them how it is. That's how I instill confidence, because if I and it's I tell them how it is with absolute 100% belief behind it in them. Because if I waver as a coach and I'm like, "No, you got it," and then I'm like, I don't know. They know. They know that you think that. If you look at them and you be like, what are you like, in a way, what do you have to lose? What are you afraid of? Why are you looking up her track wrestling profile, which is a big no-no. We don't look at
Yeah,
records because anything could happen. And I just tell them, like, go out there, wrestle your match. The best thing about wrestling is you could be down 14 nothing and you could pin her and win.
I have
It's
seen that
not
a
over
bunch
until
this
the
year.
match is over. Yeah. So it's just to instill confidence in my athletes, I have to be confident in them and show them. Because once I believe, they start to believe.
Very good. I like that. I like that a lot. I do. Um, I'm trying to think of where to go. You know what? Actually, let's just get to know you just a little bit better,
Yeah.
as a person.
Okay.
Outside of wrestling, what's something that we probably don't know about you that maybe is something that you really like to do?
Oh man. Um, I was a competitive swimmer before I started wrestling.
Really?
Yeah, and I was kind of good at it. And so I actually quit swimming. So for swimming in Iowa, the girls' season is like a summer fall sport, and
Hmm.
girls wrestling and wrestling in general is winter. So it happened to line up well. But I quit my sophomore year, and my parents were kind of like, why? Like, you are good at swimming and you enjoy it. And I was like, but I want to focus on wrestling more. And so that was a weird moment. What else do I like to do? I
Well, I
have
got to
two
ask you
dogs,
now, swimming, because
but
my daughters both swam and I love the sport. I'm a horrible swimmer. I can save myself, and that's about it. I'm
yeah,
really good at side strokes, which is
yep,
not a real thing. But what was your best stroke?
100-yard breaststroke. So that
You're a
weird like
breaststroker.
frog
Yep.
kick.
Yeah.
Yep.
I cannot do the frog kick. My hips turn sideways every time. I don't know why. I took
It's because
so
I
many
could,
swim lessons.
and I would never tell my coach this, but I think I was really good at it because I could breathe every time I came up. And I
Yep.
was just like, okay. But I made the funny mistake of one year being like, swimming is enough to get me in shape for wrestling. Unless you're wrestling, you are never going to be in like true wrestling in season shape.
And then you just said you have a couple dogs.
I do, yes. I have a lab mix named Xena. We just adopted her about in October. So super new, and then I have a little Chihuahua with one eye. So maybe
Oh,
that's a
wow.
fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah, his name is Harry.
Harry, we had Chihuahuas when my kids were younger and stuff, so I've always kind of liked them. They're noisy little things,
Oh my goodness, yes.
but they're still sweet dogs. One
Yes.
eye. So it says was that born that way? Have an accident?
So it's like it was never developed fully in his
Hmm.
head. And so when we adopted him, we got all of our dogs from the ARL. He still had the eye in his head and he was really aggressive. And we were like, I wonder if it's because he's in pain. We went surgically removed the eye, and he just became the biggest sweetheart and just loving and I mean, kind of annoying most of the time, but very loving and just a resilient little dog. He's like 14 and still kicking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time for a little
and
dog to
he's
live.
and he's not like still kicking and you're kind of like, well, he's kind of sick looking. Like, no, he's happy, he's having fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
great. Do you have any hobbies or anything that you do outside of, I mean, I know you work all the time.
Yeah. Oh man, I work a lot, I coach a lot. I don't know. This is a
That's
question that always trips me up because I'm like, what do I do outside of this? But most of my free time is like watching wrestling, which is kind of
that's all
crazy
right.
because some people are like, "What do you get sick of it?" And I'm just like, "No, it's awesome. Like it's fun."
So it was funny. You saw me at Twin Rivers, but then you were working, and I came into Home
Yeah.
Depot, and I had to grab some stuff for the tournament. And I think it might be, I don't know if it was your boss or it was a lady she helped me at the checkout, but she wasn't dressed yet. She just came in, I think. And then I ran into her. She asked me what I was doing because I bought a bunch of mats just,
Yeah.
to cover wires and stuff up. And she's like, "What do you do? Or what are you doing all these things for?" And I told her, and she's like, "Chloe, oh, she's a wrestler." And I said, "I know, I've known her for a long time." We had like a whole conversation about you.
Yeah.
So are you kind of a celebrity at the Home Depot with her
You
or
know,
with the girls wrestling?
I've only been there about 2 months with Home Depot right now, but yeah, everyone knows I like wrestling. I think it's because one day in the break room, and there was a lot of people in there, me and another coworker got in we were both we were talking about NIL money.
Uh-huh.
And I was talking about like the pros and cons of it. And I mentioned they were talking about for basketball. And I was like, well, I don't know much about basketball, but wrestling. And then March NCAA tournament, and I'm behind the counter and I'm like trying not to get in trouble while I have the phone propped up watching Gabe Arnold's All-American match, which
Uh-huh.
tears to my eyes. Absolutely. Like, no one knew the gravity of that situation, but his reaction just was like, ugh, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So what NIL? What's your thoughts?
On Gabe Arnold's.
No, how about just NIL? You said that was the conversation.
Oh, yeah. It's it's okay, but I think how it's being administered right now, not the correct way. And I think it's hurting a lot of seasoned athletes, but then we're also putting this on literal children who are just
Yeah.
committing to colleges. And I think it's causing a lot of like unnecessary drama with social media, especially. Like, because now anyone that decommits from a college, it's like, well, someone offered him more money when we don't
Yeah.
know the full story.
Yeah, we wouldn't know if, whether maybe there's a conflict within the room. Maybe it's,
Right,
maybe the major really wasn't what they thought it was going to be. Maybe
right,
there's all kinds of things. Um,
right.
Transfer portal. Now, since we got on this, I I don't think it's wrong to be able to transfer.
No,
Um, but boy, it just seems crazy how people are just hopping in, whole teams disappear.
I
Um,
know.
what's your thoughts on the transfer portal?
I think transfer portal, like you said, needs to be a thing. Absolutely. I have a hard time with knowing when it's being used to just hop around from school to school and if it's for money or what's going on. And just also having trust in the athlete that I'm like, if Spencer Lee hit the transfer portal in 2022, first off, that would have been a huge shock. Second off, I don't think anyone at the time would have thought someone was offering him more money. It would have
Yeah,
been maybe there's a conflict within the school, maybe something, which I try to always believe the athlete because why wouldn't you? You don't
yeah,
know the whole story, but now that NIL money has become bigger, it's like I almost don't know. Like, why are you entering the portal? But at the end of the day, it's none of my business because it's not my life, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. We're fans and we want to know, right?
right, yeah, exactly.
So I've kind of gathered that you might be a Hawkeye fan,
Yes.
just through that. Um, the Hawkeyes first D1, well, the only D1 program so far in the state of Iowa,
Yeah.
but we just announced that Iowa State will now have a program.
Yeah.
Allie St. John, who I've known since she's been Allie Reagan, and just one of the sweetest people on the face of the earth. What's your thoughts on having a Cyhawk for women's wrestling?
Oh my gosh, it is going to be amazing. And I mean, just like even as a fan's perspective, not thinking money, like obviously it'll be great for both programs to bring
Yep.
funds in and have fans and have just women committing to these D1 colleges, but just even as a fan, now I get to have two Cyhawk wrestling
I
meets in
know
a
it.
year, right? To watch.
That's
Like,
awesome.
heck yeah.
I'm super excited for it. I think that's
Oh
going to
my
be
gosh.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we got off subject of talking about you, but that's okay because I
Oh,
think
that's fine.
those are some fun
Anything
fun stuff.
about women's wrestling, I'm like, okay.
So, as a coach, as an athlete,
Mhm.
um, food is an important thing in fueling our bodies and perspective, and it's changed so much over the years from when, I was in those years when we weighed in the morning, so you had all day, so the stupid ways of cutting weight and not eating properly.
Yeah.
As a coach, what are you telling your kids, as far as cutting weight and what should they be eating maybe after a weigh-in?
So for cutting weight, if a girl is trying to wrestle a certain weight class, the first question is always why. If it is because, and then I also look, we have like fat testings, and I also just
Hmm.
look at the girl. Like, you can kind of tell when an athlete, you can always tell, not kind of, you can always tell when an athlete isn't fueling their body correctly in the way that they not perform, but like practice. And if for some reason I notice that, I always meet with the athlete. Is there something going on? Like, is sometimes it's like, do you have access to this food at home? Because if you don't, how can we get it to you?
Yeah,
But say an athlete wants to drop a weight class. Thankfully, in girls wrestling right now, except for the heavier weights, it's usually a 5 pound increment.
yeah,
I understand maybe dropping by one 5 pound weight difference. The issue with girls is we don't sweat like the guys do. So I'd
Correct.
have guys at wrestling practice when I was wrestling with the boys have like a good practice is a 5 to 7 pound off practice. And I'm just like, I lost two, maybe. I was like, whoa. So cutting weight is beneficial in a very controlled and careful environment because I did notice I went between 135 and 140 my junior year. At
Hmm.
140, I was eating regularly, like just kind of normal. And at 135, I would just be a little bit hungry the morning before. And sometimes I wrestled better when I had that little bit of like edge and hunger, but I never wrestled good when I was cutting way too much.
Yeah.
So we got to find a good balance.
What's your thoughts? I don't know if you saw this, but the rule change for body fat percentage going from 12%, which was absolutely too low,
Yeah.
not healthy
No,
for a high school female athlete,
no.
but 19%. What's your thoughts on the 19%?
So I have seen, especially at our 100-pound weight class, or even like a 95 in some off-season tournaments, girls who are just naturally that weight,
Yep.
and they are naturally just smaller, less body fat. So I believe there is a waiver
Yep, there
with
is.
that. So I think this rule change protects every athlete because the minimum is set at a maybe a little higher maybe than it should be. But even then, if a girl qualifies, do the waiver, have them be checked. Like the biggest thing is I just want to protect these girls cuz you are wrestling at a time where your body is also going through so much growth and development that should be number 1,
Yep.
protecting your growth and development. So I think overall the rule change is good because it went from 12 to like 19, but maybe like a 18, 17 would have been a better sweet spot.
17 is where the colleges are at actually. And I don't
Yeah.
know if, and maybe that's because of their development too. They're during the high school years, you're going from kind of a still a girl to probably a young woman, and so there's a lot of changes within your body. So maybe you need that 19%. I am not a doctor.
No, yeah. Same. That's why I'm like, but I went from freshman year, I wrestled at 106 pounds. By senior year, I was 155.
Yep.
And none of that was because I was overeating or anything. It was just, like you said, going from a young girl to a young woman.
Yeah. And so um, the other thing that as a coach, as a female athlete and as a coach, uh, girls are more prone to maybe uh, eating disorders.
Yes.
Have you had any, do you have talks with the girls about that? I think that's something maybe I've missed in my talks and something maybe I should
Yeah.
spend more time on.
So actually, I have talked with the girls about, especially my middle school girls, because it's first off, you're in the most awkward stage of your life, and then you go out in this skin tight suit in front of everyone and you're rolling around on a mat. It's like, what is going on, right? And I have had talks with the girls, especially because we do in middle school, you kind of just weigh in once and you wrestle
Yep.
that weight. But we
Yep.
usually try and do like every 2 weeks, we'll check a weight. So if I notice a girl is going from like 140 to 135 to like 130 to like 120, I kind of check in like, hey, like I said before, is do you have options at home? Are you eating enough? What's going on? Sometimes it really is like I am just working out regularly now and I'm
Hmm.
still eating and drinking right, but wrestling workouts can be intense. You will drop
Yeah.
weight. But one girl that inspired me that shared her story, which is well known in Iowa, is Ella Schmidt.
Yep.
She shared it on TikTok and I watched the whole thing and I've never, thankfully, had to deal with cutting weight as much or just an eating disorder of my own. But just hearing her story as someone who I've seen, like physically seen wrestle at a weight that maybe wasn't where she needed to be at by her senior year and now be happy in college at a weight she looks more
Yeah.
comfortable at has just been like, this is why it's important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Ella's
Yeah,
story is a really powerful story, and I wish more
it
people would
is.
listen. More people should listen. I posted about the 19% and some of the comments that were on there. I was like amazed that, how angry some people were about the fact that we're trying to protect athletes. It was just
I mean,
blew my
yeah,
mind, blew my mind.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So a lot of times with this question, I have to I I have a lot of guilty pleasure foods. I keep getting rounder and rounder as I get older. Love ice cream. Do you have a guilty pleasure food?
Oh, um, ooh, what's a good one? Funny enough, and it's so odd, but the like 60-cent long strawberry Laffy Taffy sticks you can get out of
Oh,
Casey's,
yeah.
those are delicious for no reason. So I remember back when the only like real girls tournament was in Ogden.
Uh-huh.
So for us is about an hour, maybe
Ish.
45
Yeah.
minutes from here. Um, we used to just take coach's car because we didn't need a bus. We only had like three girls, and we stopped at the Casey's gas station, and I got an energy drink. Which, if any of my girls are watching this, water first, energy drink maybe one, but don't follow after coach. And those sticks, and I remember just people looking at me like, "What are you eating?" I was like, "They're good. Leave me alone."
Hey, that's perfect. I like those Laffy Taffies too. So
They're
if
good.
you had your choice, Des Moines, you have so many options of going out and
Yes.
eating. What is like your, man, I love going to this place. And what do you love to have?
Chipotle. Funny enough,
Really?
it's to me, it's like it's fast food still. Like I get my food quick, but it's not really crappy is how it feels when it sits in my stomach. And I almost get enough that I can have it for two meals. So
Yeah,
one bowl.
for sure. For sure it's enough
Yeah.
for 2 meals. I never make it 2 meals, but it tends to it could be enough for 2 meals.
Yeah.
If you had your chance to go anywhere in the world on vacation, where would you go?
Greece. My grandpa is full Greek. Uh, his mom and dad, I mean, kind of raised him there and then they moved to the United States. And just the beauty of it. And then the wrestling history. So funny
Oh
enough,
yeah.
it all ties in like the ancient Greeks. And I remember reading about, I didn't know wrestling was going to get taken out of the Olympics.
Yeah, at one time
And then
they were looking at that.
I have the poster of Dan Gable's, like, Iowa is known for winning Olympic gold medals for more than 100 years. And why wouldn't we add girls wrestling? Because
Yep.
he said, like, they saved the sport. And it's just like, why? Why would you ever remove the oldest sport by the ancient Greeks and Romans? And, anyways, I would travel to Greece, and it's just beautiful there.
Yeah,
And the
I think
food's
you're right.
good.
I hadn't had a lot of desire to go to Europe until I've started talking to a lot of the girls this last year, and more people say they want to go to Europe and travel
Yeah.
around. We had a
Yeah.
foreign exchange student on our team this year from Germany, and
Oh,
absolutely just she was probably one of the funnest people I've had in well, this has done 6 years. Just somebody really memorable. And I
yeah.
think I'd love to go at some point in time and catch up with her later on in life.
That's so
So
sweet.
I think your Germany would be really fun.
That would be
Uh,
cool.
a lot of times I talk about because I've talked to a lot of high school girls and college girls what
Yeah.
they were going to do after the sport. You're obviously coaching. Have you thought about officiating at all?
I have actually. Joe Fontenot, is that
No.
how you
Yep.
pronounce?
Yep.
He tried to get me into it before I started coaching. And funny enough, he was a little disappointed when I said I was gonna start coaching. He was like, "Oh no, I was trying to get her on the mats," and I'm like, "Don't worry, still a possibility." And I've even when I quit wrestling my senior year, it wasn't because I ever hated wrestling as a sport.
Uh-huh.
I love it, and it's just any way I can get involved, I will. And I know especially during like freestyle time, coaches have like a
Yeah.
point system.
Oh
I
yeah.
can
Yep.
absolutely, I'm planning on getting certified or going through that process. And then hopefully by next off season, help officiate in some of those little tournaments and coach at some of the bigger ones. And
Yeah, learning freestyle officiating is it's difficult because it's a lot of where you're at on the map. That's why they have three officials,
Yes.
because you maybe don't see everything the same. And there's who initiated, did they stop
Right.
this? There's all kinds of little
Is this
details that,
exposure or a takedown? Or, I mean, it's
yeah.
the same amount of points, but I want to get it right. And who got the takedown? Now they're rolling over. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy the difference between freestyle and folk style and trying to officiate and learn
Yes.
the officiating because the rules are they're just enough different that it's like, wow, sometimes I
Yeah.
just don't get it. And like this year, last 2 years, I've been taking pictures and stuff, so I've been able to kind of be in the same area as the officials, so I'm able to ask those questions. And
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes they don't know either,
It's
because they're new
awesome
to
to,
it too.
yeah. It's awesome to see. I know like Hawkeye Community College, I think Iowa Central
Yep,
College, a couple others get their girls to volunteer and officiate at events.
yep.
Because one of my former Des Moines Public Schools wrestlers, she now goes to Hawkeye Community. Her name is
Hmm.
Lamuna, was officiating at Freestyle State last weekend.
Yeah.
And I was
And
like,
they, yeah,
just,
Dan's real big in USA wrestling, and he's a
yeah,
great guy. He's a good,
it's
really good
just
guy.
not only good on the coach, but good on the girls and good for the sport and good. Sometimes it's even cool. Like I remember Nadine
Hmm.
officiating some of my matches in high school. And it was always, I didn't know her name at the time. None of our girls did, but they were like, I hope we get the girl official. I know,
Uh-huh.
get a picture of my hand up with the girl official. That'd be so tough because it was just like you said, the representation of someone like me doing
Yep.
that.
Yeah. And Nadine is a great representation of this sport. It's amazing how incredible she is,
Oh my
and
gosh.
how many girl like she comes to a tournament and she's just swamped with people
Yeah.
that know her, love
Yeah.
her, and stuff. So yeah,
Well,
it's
it's
really cool.
she's just been around and just always positive, and I remember her like raising, she'd raise your hand because you won and just being like, "Great job, stay with it." As soon
Uh-huh.
and then she'd send you off. And it was just
Yep.
like that little bit is just like, I remember you now.
What do you think your story? Because you've had you've had you started you had not a lot of success, then you had some success, then you found maybe you needed to take a break, but then you've come back. What do you think your story is going to say to the next generation of girls? What do you hope your story says to the girls that you coach at Valley?
I hope it tells them, first off, it's never too late. And if you don't try something, you will never know what you might get out of it. Because if I didn't try wrestling and then stick with it just cuz, and then, well, maybe I like it a little more now to where I am now. I mean, I don't want to imagine my life where I'd be right now without wrestling. I don't know. All these people I know, like I wouldn't be doing this interview right now if I
Yeah.
didn't go out for wrestling my freshman year. But I actually wrote down a quote that I think if I had to, and I put it in one of my Instagram posts for my junior year, if I had to encompass like what it means for me to wrestle, why I wrestled, and like, yeah, I'll just say it. It's
Okay.
the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but rising every time we fall. It's by Nelson Mandela, I believe. And it's so true. I had to go through that up and down, or like down and then straight up and then come back down to like know what it's like to live and set myself up for success, how wrestling does. So I hope if my girls pick up anything, or any girl watching or listening, is just it is never a linear path, but you are never on the wrong one either.
That's really good. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That you're never on the wrong path. That's
No.
very good. I like that. I like that a whole lot. Just a couple questions left for you.
Yeah.
What do you think it means? And you've gone through the pre-sanctioning to now, when wow, it's amazing to watch some of the little kids are
Oh
wrestling
my
at a level
gosh.
that's like, I didn't wrestle that good in college.
Or yeah,
So
no.
so what do you think it means to wrestle like a girl?
Oh my gosh. It is just wrestling with your whole heart. And it is the utmost respect for you, not only yourself, but your opponent. And it's just being thankful for the opportunity to wrestle. Always. That's what it means to wrestle like a girl. And I went to the Iowa camp with Tom and Terry Brands for a couple years. And I think it was Terry. was just on the mat, and he was like, if you want to wrestle like a girl, then you got to train like a girl. And it was just like, yeah, like that's what it means, is just be like the most strong and respectful person you can be on the mat and off.
Piggybacking on that,
Yeah,
what is that one thing that wrestling has taught you?
resilience. If
Yeah,
and I think I said it
you
earlier,
have.
but it really is just like you constantly get beat down, whether it's in wrestling or it's in life. And I think one example of that I watched throughout this past season was Autumn Ellsbury. And she
Yes.
had a rough season and she ended out on top. And she doesn't know me, but I was like almost in tears watching her just be like, she made it through. Like Gabe Arnold, he made it through. It is constant resilience and it will pay off in your life, not just in wrestling.
Yeah, Autumn. Yeah, she had all kinds of things hit her all at once. She had,
Yeah.
deaths in the family and just some really badly timed losses. And
Yeah.
yeah, doubted her. I've known Autumn for quite a while now and
Yeah.
stuff. And so, yeah, it was really cool to see her
Oh my
uh,
gosh.
tournament of her life, right?
Yeah.
It was just
It was
amazing.
just
So,
amazing, and it was one of the hardest brackets we've even seen in the
oh gosh,
IGH SAU
yeah,
state tournament history. And
oh
it
for
was,
sure.
oh man, it was
Yeah,
just
because
very,
she had to beat two people that had beat her the year before just to get just
and then
yeah
ranked in the nation. I think all three of
yeah
them were. And I was
yeah
like, whoa. And just watching her win, I was like, that makes me feel good.
yeah. And her dad's been a good friend of mine too, and he threw the coach up in
Yeah.
the air.
Danny, is that his
Yes.
name?
Yeah, Danny is
Yeah.
he's quite a character. If you ever get a chance to just sit down and talk to Danny,
I think
I
he's
take
talked to me at a tournament once, just kind of being like, why'd you start wrestling? Like he's not
yeah
shy to just talk to you.
no yeah he's an amazing guy. He's fun. Um, Last thing,
Yeah.
always have little final time for final thoughts.
Yeah.
It can be anything you want. What do you want everybody to know?
Um, we had a coach. So I actually just want to touch up on a coach. He has since passed away from Valley. He passed away from ALS, I think 2 years ago. His name was Dion Cobb. He has been one of the, if not the most impactful coach on my life. And he was a unpaid assistant coach at Valley. Why he was impactful on my life was he didn't give me any sort of special treatment in the room. You'd show up to open mats and it wasn't like like it literally was no different than a boy. And one day I asked him, "Hey, can you teach me a fireman's carry?" He taught me the fireman's carry and outside carry, like all this, and just expected me, not like expected me to get it, but didn't treat me any different than a boy. And I think it was in that moment that it was like, I belong here and I can do this. And then one other girl I want to touch up on is her name is Alexandria or Alex Glade.
Yes.
She is probably one of my favorite wrestlers to watch. So if anyone doesn't know who she is, check her out. She is not only a extremely positive person and extremely good wrestler, but just an example of resilience. Like she's not the linear path by any means, but just constant, I got this. And that is the mindset we need to have.
Yeah, her social media is fantastic.
It's amazing. And I met
Yeah.
her from the Iowa camp. And then when I coached at the US Open last year, I saw her there and it was just like, she's just smiling like Sarah Hildebrandt, but just, it's like they love the sport and it's just
Yep.
so awesome.
They love the sport and they're the great representation of the sport.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's not a world team member or those senior level wrestlers that they're all phenomenal. They're
Amit
incredible
and
people. Yeah.
Sarah and yeah, especially Meat. She just had a child and now she's gonna
Yep.
compete. It's like how much more like awesome can you get? Like
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I mean, and we're gonna see more and more of things like that,
yeah,
and I know that it's happened before. There's been coaches before that had their child on the mat and stuff.
it's so
But
cute.
I thought it was so cool that Sam Sam's a good friend of
Yes.
mine, and Sam's had her, baby on the mat, and I stole the baby a couple times, and so yeah, she's just she's at home on a wrestling mat already, so it's
Oh
so
my
cool
gosh.
to see that stuff. So
It's awesome.
yes, well, I appreciate you. I've known you for well since probably 21. Maybe that's when we met, 2020,
Yeah,
2021.
I
And
think so.
we've talked many times. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to get to know you maybe just a little bit better and
Thank
stuff.
you.
So I do appreciate everything you do because you do a lot too, and you're a great representative of the sport. So
Well,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much for doing this.
Thank you.
I'm gonna hit the stop button.
Okay.